Hi friends, in this video I am going to explain about Lewis dot structure. To draw Lewis dot structure, some of the rules we have to follow. The rules are, to draw Lewis dot structure, the rules are: count the number of valence electrons of each atom. First rule is count the number of valence electrons of each atom. And also for ions, the charge must be taken into count. The first rule is count the number of valence electrons of each atom and the charge must be taken into count. For example, BeCl2, beryllium valence electrons are 2 and chlorine valence electrons are 7. We have to add these two atoms valence electrons. Beryllium 2 valence electrons plus chlorine valence electrons 7, having two chlorine atoms, so 2 into 7, total valence electrons 16 electrons means 8 electron pairs. So 16 valence electrons for the BeCl2 molecule. And then for NO2 plus, nitrogen valence electrons 5, oxygen valence electrons 6. So valence electrons is equal to 5 plus nitrogen 5 plus, next how many oxygen atoms? 2 into oxygen valency 6. See here, add 1 electron for each negative charge and subtract 1 electron for each positive charge. Here having 1 positive charge, so what we have to do? Subtract 1 electron for each positive charge. Here having positive charge, so subtract 1 electron here. 5 plus 2 into 1 oxygen having 6 valence electrons, so 2 oxygen atoms are having 2 into 6 minus 1 is equal to 16 electrons. So NO2 plus having 16 valence electrons, and for NO2 minus, here the charge is negative charge. Having negative charge means what we have to do? Add 1 electron for each negative charge. So here to find valence electrons for NO2 minus, add 1 electron along with nitrogen and oxygen valences. Here oxygen having 6 valence electrons, 2 into 6, total 18 electrons for NO2 minus molecule. So this is the first rule. What is the first rule? Count the number of valence electrons of each atom, and for ions, charge must be taken into count. So this is the way to find valence electrons in a molecule, and add 1 electron for each negative charge and subtract 1 electron for each positive charge. Next, draw the least electronegative atom at the center atom and the remaining atoms spaced evenly around it. In the second rule, what we are talking? Least electronegative atom taken as central atom and the remaining atoms spaced evenly around the center atom. So carbon is least electronegative, so that's why we taken as a central atom. Fluorine is most electronegative than carbon, so fluorine is spatially around the center atom. So this is the second rule. First rule is count the number of valence electrons, and for ions, charge must be taken into count, and the second rule is least electronegative taken as center atom and the remaining atoms spatially around it. And third rule is complete octet with remaining electrons for the outer atoms first and the remaining electrons to the central atom. In BaCl2 molecule, for example, we take BaCl2 molecule, what the second rule is discussing? Complete octet with remaining electrons for the outer atoms first. First, we complete the octet rule for the outer atoms and then go for the central atom. See here, in BaCl2 molecule, how many valence electrons? 16 valence electron. 16 valence electrons means take Be as center atom because it is least electronegative than chlorine, and first complete the octet rule for outer atoms. So this is the third rule. First complete the outer octet rule for outermost atom and then for center atom. That's why chlorine first attain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 electrons to the outer atoms and then for beryllium. This is the third rule. First complete the octet electrons for the outermost atom and then for the central atom. Next, for NO2 minus molecule, first fill the octet electrons for the outer atoms and then for the central atom. This is the third rule. First rule, count the number of valence electrons, and second rule, draw the least electronegative atom at the center, and third rule is first complete the octet electrons for the outermost atoms and then for the central atom, and fourth rule is complete the center atom octet by making covalent bond. See here, beryllium, hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium. Beryllium electronic configuration is 1s2, 2s2. Electronic configuration is valence electrons is 2. Here beryllium sharing 1 electron to fill outermost valence electrons for beryllium is 2. To fill, what is the covalent bond? Mutual sharing of electrons between two atoms. To get the stable configuration, actually chlorine having 7 valence electron. To get stable configuration, chlorine wants 1 electron. So beryllium giving 1 electron to the chlorine and chlorine 1 electron to the beryllium. Like here, mutual sharing of electrons means covalent bond is formed. Here beryllium giving, here also same, beryllium giving 1 electron to the chlorine and chlorine giving 1 electron to the beryllium. So mutual sharing of electrons means covalent bond. Chlorine attain octet configuration and this chlorine also attain octet configuration. What here? Mutual sharing of electrons takes place. Mutual sharing of electrons means covalent bond takes place. So what is the fourth rule? Complete the center atom octet by making covalent bonds. Then if there is not enough electrons to follow the octet rule, then the least electronegative atom is left short of electrons. Here in fifth rule does not have not enough electrons to follow the octet rule. First fill the outermost electrons and the least electronegative atom is left short of electrons. And the exceptional case is boron and beryllium does not follow octet rule because they have lesser than 8 electrons around their compounds. Here 4 valence electrons are having. So here does not follow the octet rule because not enough electrons to follow the octet rule. To follow the octet rule, how many electrons we want? 8 electrons. So beryllium having around 8 electrons. That's why beryllium and boron does not follow octet rule, because in fifth rule there is not enough electrons to follow the octet rule. Then the least electronegative atom is left short of electrons. Here least electronegative atom is beryllium. So beryllium having short of electrons. And the sixth rule is, if there are too many electrons to follow the octet rule, then the extra electrons is placed on the central atom. If in fifth rule having lesser electrons, not enough electrons, least electronegative atom is short of electrons. In sixth rule having too many electrons to follow octet rule, then the extra electrons is placed on the central atom. Here sixth rule, too many electrons are present means, to follow the octet rule, the remaining electrons present on this central atom. Here, for example, sulfur and fluorine having 34 valency electrons. 34 valency electrons. Here, around sulfur is taken as central atom because compared to fluorine, sulfur is least electronegative and the fluorines are surrounded around it. Each fluorine first to based on the third rule. What is the third rule? First complete the outer electrons. First complete the outer electrons first and then center atom. So first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These 4 fluorine atoms attain octet configuration and sulfur also attains octet configuration. But here having too many electrons to follow the octet rule. So the extra electrons are placed on the central atom. Here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Sulfur also having octet rule, but 32 electrons. Having 32 electrons means both this structure follow octet rule, but having 34 electrons, extra 2 electrons are placed on the central atom. So this is the 6th rule. And 7th rule is hydrogen never taken as a central atom because it attains duplet structure only. Examples H2O and CH4 etc. Let us remain from beginning. Count the number of valence electrons of each atom, and first count the electrons of each atom, and second rule is charge must be taken into account and add 1 electron for each negative charge and subtract 1 electron for each positive charge. Sometimes it is necessary to form double and triple bonds between carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, sulfur. Rarely chlorine also forms double bond and triple bond. So this is the most important thing necessary to form double and triple bonds between carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus and sulfur. And the next rule is least electronegative taken as central atom and the remaining atoms surrounded around it. And the third rule and the next rule is complete the octet with remaining electrons for the outer atoms first. Complete the octet rule for the outer atoms first and then go for the central atom. And central atoms are formed by making covalent bonds. And the next rule is if there is not enough electrons to follow the octet rule, least electronegative atom is left short of electrons. And next rule is if there are too many electrons to follow the rule, extra electrons placed on the central atom. And next one is hydrogen never taken as central atom because it attains duplet structure. Based on these rules, we can draw the Lewis dot structure. This is the explanation about Lewis dot structure and rules. By using these rules, we must write the Lewis dot structures. I hope you understand. Thank you.